I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton here at the Marquis Cancer Center. And this may be the middle of the day and Dr. Fedek looks very professional, ready to treat his patients. But the day started much earlier. Started about 4:15 this morning when he got up to get in shape for Ironcology.
Persuaded me to help him.
Well into his morning workout, I decided to ask Dr. Fedek, what exactly is Ironcology?
So Ironcology is a concept I came up with a couple of years ago, where what I was trying to do is combine my hobby, which is racing Ironman triathlons, with fundraising for the Marquis Cancer Center, or specifically trying to improve some of the treatments I provide, and I work as an oncologist. So I just combined them, so Ironcology was that blend. As we keep going, I've now raised about $250,000, all of which goes to the Marquis Cancer Foundation, primarily devoted to patient care.
This type of dedication takes commitment. So what exactly does the exercise and training schedule look like for an actively working board-certified radiation oncologist who participates in triathlons?
I get up pretty early. Most days I'm up at 4 or 4:15. I get in a pretty decent workout in the morning. I finish by 6 a.m. just before my kids wake up. Go to work throughout the day, usually leave at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Spend a couple hours with the kids, and then once they go to bed, it's usually another hour, hour and a half in the late evening before I go to bed. I got up today at 4 a.m. It's now 5:30. I've been on the bike an hour 15.
The big question is the level of success. How successful has Ironcology been in raising money for cancer care?
We've been fairly successful. In 2014, my first race was Ironman Louisville, where I raced as the final starter and raised money per person that I passed. In the first race, I raised $54,000. Our original goal, honestly, was pretty modest, just 15 or 20. And I think the long-term goal, we thought we could maybe raise 50,000. But before the end of that year, I had ended up raising 141,000. And as we keep going, I've now raised about $250,000.
Dr. Fedek says that current treatments are making advances, but the future may lie in our own immune system.
The current trend with cancer treatment, at least, is really starting to explore immunotherapy. Or if we can't necessarily find a cure with the chemotherapy agents, or is there no such thing as a right chemo combination, it's trying to look at, well, what can we do to enable the body itself to start fighting cancer? So a lot of the newer treatments that I think we're going to be seeing very soon, maybe even as early as in the next 2 to 3 years, are going to be focusing on activating the immune response to actually start fighting the cancer, so that maybe in that situation, when we go back and use our conventional chemo drugs, some of our surgeries and radiation will actually have a higher chance of curing these patients.
To get an idea of the treatments, I joined Dr. Fedek at his office at the Marquis Cancer Center to see some of the tools that he uses to help battle cancer.
Right now we're in the ground floor of the Marquis Cancer Center Roach building. This is one of our treatment units, or a linear accelerator that we primarily use for treating pretty much any head and neck, lung, prostate, pretty much any main type of cancer that is a standard treatment we use on this unit.
So exactly how does this technology work to target cancer cells and treat patients?
Basically what it does is it takes the electric current out of the wall, the same electrical outlet that you would use to power a TV, and it uses it to, in a long roundabout process, to create its own radiation by raising that electric current very high to several million volts and then converting that into radiation. This is something that you cannot see, smell, hear, feel, or taste. The radiation enters kind of in a focal pathway, just like a laser beam would be if you had a laser pointer. It enters that part of the body, and it's able to interact with water, and in the process of interacting with water, it actually generates free radicals that tends to damage the cells in its pathway. Now, one of the unique things that allows radiation to be very effective at treating cancer is that most of the damage that happens from radiation to our normal cells, they're able to repair it. Whereas most of the damage that's caused to cancer cells, they're not able to repair the majority of that damage.
One of the bigger questions is, how do you protect sensitive tissues, those tissues that are normal that we want to save and protect that lie around cancerous cells?
So for example, if you want to treat a tumor that's next to, like my hand, and avoid something that's next to it, well, you use all of these beam angles and not the ones that would otherwise pass through what you're trying to avoid, or the opposite way. And by dividing a treatment up into, say, 15 different beam angles instead of 2, we're actually able to relatively spare normal structures that are adjacent to a cancer.
Dr. Fedek has done some really strong work, but how does ironcology shift the paradigm of fundraising in medical treatment?
So indirectly, I've kind of opened the door, I think, for physician engagement as well as requesting help from the patients that we actually treat. You know, one of the most unique things that ironcology created, or at least brought to light here, was this concept of crowdfunding, and that it really is a very successful method of gathering donations. You know, the original idea I had with ironcology was just to raise a little bit of money that I could then go to some very large potential donors and ask for large amounts. When in turn what ended up happening was I raised all the money I did off of small donations.
Ironcology brings together a great mix of medicine and desire to help patients through an interest in exercise. Dr. Jonathan Fedek and his wife Shannon work tirelessly for their patients to help them get better, feel better, and advance cancer treatment. I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this has been a Tools of the Trade.